On January 3rd, 2026, U.S. forces launched a dramatic military operation in Caracas, Venezuela, named Operation Absolute Resolve, involving airstrikes and special forces to capture Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. They were taken by U.S. troops and flown out of Venezuela to the United States. So we now know what made Trump pull the trigger and actually go into Venezuela and capture Maduro, and apparently it was because they saw him dancing. So an insider told the New York Times that U.S. officials saw Maduro dancing as a provocation and attempt to call the Trump administration bluff, which ultimately became their breaking point. Another shocking part of the story is that Trump watched this entire thing at Mar-a-Lago in his residence in front of giant screens like it was a TV show. In fact, that's exactly what he said, and it turns out this mission, which they called Operation Absolute Resolve, was months in the making. So all the way back in August, the CIA actually planted small teams of spies to track and monitor Maduro's pattern. They got his location, his movements, how he moved, where he moved, and how he traveled. So, in fact, one of the spies for the CIA was even a member of Maduro's own government. Now, while the extraction team were heading to Maduro's house, US air support proceeded to strike certain parts of Venezuela. And Trump also suggested that the US cut power in Caracas, which is their capital, before the mission began. And here is very important thing to remember is that Venezuela is not poor today because they lack resources, people, or skills. They are poor because their institution collapsed. Okay guys, so if today is your first time of seeing my post, I goes by the name Kingsmount Online and I tell crime stories. So sit tight to the end of the story and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks. So, Nicolás Maduro Moros was born on 23rd November 1962, currently at the age 63, in Caracas, Venezuela. Born into a working-class family, he worked as bus driver and became a union leader, rising quickly in political influence through grassroots unions. He was elected to Venezuela's legislature in 1998, later becoming president of the National Assembly. He also served as foreign minister in 2006 to 2012. Appointed vice president under Hugo Chávez in 2012. Maduro became president in 2013 after the death of Hugo Chávez. Elections were widely criticized, the economy collapsed, and political opposition was suppressed. In 2025, Maduro was sworn in for another term after elections that several international observer groups said were flawed and not fair. He ruled Venezuela for about 13 years, but during that time, he lost support inside the country and became isolated internationally before his capture. As far back as 2020, U.S. authorities have filed criminal charges against Maduro, including narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine conspiracy, drug trafficking, and weapon offenses. So, prosecutors allege that Maduro didn't just govern Venezuela, he allegedly used the power of the state to support a massive drug trafficking operation. At the heart of this accusation is the so-called Cartel of the Suns, a powerful criminal network said to operate from within Venezuela's military and government. So, the U.S. government alleged that Maduro used the power of the Venezuelan state to move tons of cocaine into the United States, working with cartel partners, using government resources to protect drug shipments, and enriching himself through corruption and illegal schemes. Maduro denies all charges and claims he's a prisoner of war. So, Maduro's years in power were marked by crisis and controversy. The country's economy collapsed and millions of Venezuelans struggled to find basic necessities like food and medicine. At the same time, his leadership grew increasingly authoritarian. Political opponents were jailed, elections were questioned, and protests were met with force. On the global stage, Venezuela became isolated. After 2019, the crisis deepened while the United States and part of the opposition recognized a rival figure as the country's legitimate leader. Meanwhile, serious human rights accusations mounted, including claims of extrajudicial killings and the systematic suppression of dissent. So, after their capture on 3rd of January 2026, Maduro and his wife were transported to New York and appeared in federal court. They faced serious U.S. federal charges, including narco conspiracy and weapon offenses, which they pleaded not guilty to. President Trump said the U.S. would temporarily manage Venezuela and its vast oil resources. The world reacted strongly, with support from some governments and sharp criticism from others. including at the United Nations. This capture is one of the most remarkable operations involving a sitting head of state and in recent history. So as of January 5th, 2026, Nicolás Maduro sits in U.S. federal custody in Brooklyn, New York. A man once untouchable, now confined to a cell, awaiting the slow grind of the American justice system. He has appeared in court and pleaded not guilty, calling his arrest a kidnap and insisting he remains Venezuela's rightful president. But outside those courtroom walls, the world has fractured into shock, jubilation, and outraged fear. Back in Venezuela, the streets are alive with tension, loyalists rally, waving flags and chanting in defiance, framing the arrest as foreign plots against their country. Meanwhile, countless ordinary citizens hardened by hunger, hyperinflation, and fear watch with a mix of disbelief, anger, and fragile hope, wondering if this could finally make the beginning of a change into their lives and in the country as well. Across the globe, the story unfolds like a warning. Experts, human rights organizations, and governments track every move, recognizing this as a real historic moment. A confrontation between a former head of state accused of grave international crimes and the full weight of the U.S. justice system. So the road ahead is unclear and the risks are very high. For Venezuela, for its people, and for the world, this is more than just a court case. It is a moment of truth, and as power and corruption fade into the background, history stands watching and ready to deliver its final judgment. So I will still keep you guys updated. Okay guys, thanks for standing to the end of the story. I really appreciate you guys. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Please, it matters a lot to me. Big thumbs up.